Hi everyone, welcome to Learn English Through Stories. Today we are going to listen to an interesting and simple English story called My First Train Journey. This story is perfect for English learners who want to improve their listening skills, learn new vocabulary, and enjoy English in a natural way. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. Let's begin. Today, I want to share the story of my first train journey. It was one of the most exciting days of my life. Even now, when I hear the sound of a train, I remember that special day with a smile. Before this journey, I had never traveled alone by train. I had traveled with my family many times, but this was different. This time, I had to take care of everything by myself. I felt excited because I wanted to become more independent. At the same time, I felt nervous because I did not know what to expect. My journey began early on a cool Saturday morning. I woke up before my alarm clock rang. I looked outside my window. The sky was still light blue, and the streets were quiet. The fresh morning air made me feel calm. I took a deep breath and smiled. This is the day, I thought. I was going to visit my cousin, who lived in another city. We had not met for almost a year, so I was very happy about the trip. The night before, I had packed my small backpack carefully. I did not want to carry too many things because I knew I would have to walk around the station. Inside my backpack, I packed a few clothes, a water bottle, a small towel, my phone charger, some snacks, and a book to read during the journey. Before leaving, I checked my train ticket again. Then I checked it one more time. I laughed because I had already looked at it many times. The ticket showed my train number, coach number, seat number, departure time, and destination. Although everything was written clearly, I still felt worried that I might make a mistake. My mother noticed that I looked nervous. She smiled and said that everything would be fine if I stayed calm and paid attention. Her words made me feel much better. After eating a simple breakfast, I put on my backpack and said goodbye to my parents. She smiled and said that everything would be fine if I stayed calm and paid attention. Her words made me feel much better. After eating a simple breakfast, I put on my backpack and said goodbye to my parents. My father reminded me to keep my phone charged and to call them after reaching my destination safely. I promised that I would. As I stepped outside, the morning sun was beginning to shine. The air felt fresh, and the road slowly became busy. I took a taxi to the railway station. During the ride, I looked out of the window and watched people starting their day. Some were walking to work. Some were opening their small shops. Children wearing school uniforms waited for their buses. Everything looked normal, but for me, it was a very special day. After about 30 minutes, I finally reached the railway station. The station was much larger than I remembered. People were everywhere. Some passengers were carrying large suitcases. Some were pulling heavy bags. Some families were saying goodbye to each other. Children were laughing and running around. The station was full of life. For a moment, I simply stood there and looked around. I could hear many different sounds. I heard train announcements through the speakers. I heard the whistle of a train. I heard people talking, footsteps on the platform, and the sound of luggage wheels rolling across the floor. It felt busy, but it also felt exciting. I walked toward the entrance and looked for the electronic departure board. The board showed the train numbers, destinations, platforms, and departure times. There were many trains listed on the screen. At first, I felt confused. There were so many numbers. I carefully looked for my train number. After a few seconds, I finally found it. My train was leaving from platform number 5. I smiled with relief. Now I knew where I had to go. Before walking to the platform, I decided to buy a bottle of water. There was a small shop inside the station. I also bought a packet of biscuits because I thought I might feel hungry during the journey. The shopkeeper smiled politely, and I thanked him before leaving. As I walked toward platform 5, I saw many interesting things. Some passengers were reading books, others were talking on their phones. A few people were quietly drinking tea while waiting for their trains. I noticed railway staff helping travelers who looked confused. That made me feel comfortable because I knew help was available if I needed it. When I reached my platform, I found an empty bench and sat down. There were still 20 minutes before my train arrived. I looked around and watched everything carefully. I wanted to remember every moment of my first train journey. Soon, an announcement came through the speakers. The voice clearly announced that my train would arrive on time. That news made everyone on the platform stand up and prepare. Some people picked up their luggage. Others checked their tickets one last time. I did the same. Even though I already knew my coach number, I looked at my ticket again. I smiled because I realized I was still a little nervous. A few minutes later, I heard a loud train whistle. Far away, I could see the train slowly coming toward the platform. The engine looked powerful. As it came closer, I could hear the sound of the wheels moving along the tracks. The train slowly stopped in front of us. People began getting off first. I remembered that passengers should always leave the train before new passengers get on. So I waited patiently. After everyone came out, I looked for my coach. I walked slowly, while reading the numbers printed on each coach. Finally, I found mine. I climbed the steps carefully and entered the train. Inside, everything looked clean and comfortable. I walked through the aisle until I found my seat. It was a window seat. I felt lucky because I love looking outside while traveling. I placed my backpack on the luggage rack above my seat and sat down. I took a deep breath. I had done it. I had reached the correct train, found the correct coach, and sat in the correct seat all by myself. The nervous feeling inside me slowly disappeared. Instead, I felt proud. I looked out of the window and watched passengers saying goodbye to their families. Some people waved happily, some hugged each other before the train left. It was a beautiful moment. Soon, the guard blew a whistle. The train gave a gentle shake. Very slowly it began to move. I watched the platform become smaller and smaller. The station slowly disappeared behind me. At that moment, I realized something important. My first train journey had finally begun. The train slowly started moving, and I could feel a mixture of excitement and happiness inside me. I looked outside the window and watched the railway station disappear behind me. The people on the platform became smaller and smaller until I could not see them anymore. For the first few minutes, I simply enjoyed the moment. The sound of the train moving on the tracks was relaxing. The gentle movement of the train made me feel peaceful. I looked at the passing trees, houses, and fields outside the window. Everything looked different from the train. When we travel by road, we usually see busy streets and traffic, but from the train, I could see a completely different side of the world. I saw small villages surrounded by green fields. I saw farmers working in their fields. I saw children waving their hands at the passing train. Every few minutes we crossed a bridge or passed through a small station. It felt like I was watching a beautiful movie through my window. After some time, another passenger came and sat beside me. He was an older man who was also traveling to another city. He smiled and greeted me politely. I smiled back and said hello. We started talking about our journeys. I told him that this was my first time traveling alone by train. He smiled and said that everyone remembers their first journey because it teaches them confidence. His words stayed in my mind. During our conversation, I learned that he traveled by train very often. He told me that trains were one of his favorite ways to travel because they allowed people to see different places and meet new people. I agreed with him. Before this journey, I thought traveling alone would be difficult. But now, sitting comfortably in my seat, I started enjoying every moment. After some time, a food vendor came through the train. He was selling tea, coffee, snacks, and other food items. I bought a cup of tea and a small snack. The hot tea tasted wonderful while I watched the beautiful scenery outside. It was a simple moment, but I felt very happy. I opened my book and tried to read for some time. However, I kept looking outside because I did not want to miss anything. The view was changing every few minutes. Sometimes I saw green fields. Sometimes I saw crowded towns. Sometimes I saw quiet areas with only a few houses. The journey was teaching me that every place has its own beauty. After a few hours, the train stopped at a large station. Many passengers got off, and many new passengers entered the train. The station was crowded. People were walking quickly with their luggage. Some passengers were searching for their seats. Some were asking others for directions. I noticed a young traveler looking confused near my coach. He was checking his ticket again and again. I remembered how nervous I felt earlier that morning, so I asked him if he needed any help. He showed me his ticket, and I helped him find his seat. He thanked me with a smile. That small experience made me happy, because I realized that I was no longer the nervous person who entered the station a few hours ago. I was becoming more confident. As the journey continued, the sky slowly changed color. The bright afternoon became a beautiful evening. The golden sunlight came through the window and filled the train with warm light. I rested my head against the seat and enjoyed the peaceful view. I thought about how worried I was before starting this journey. I had so many questions in my mind. What if I missed my train? What if I went to the wrong platform? What if I could not find my seat? But none of those things happened. Everything went well because I stayed calm and prepared myself. Then suddenly I noticed something. The name of the next station sounded familiar. I quickly checked my ticket. My destination was only 2 stations away. I became excited because I knew I would soon meet my cousin. I started packing my things. I placed my book inside my backpack. I checked my phone and informed my cousin that I would arrive soon. A few minutes later, something unexpected happened. The train stopped at a small station, and the announcement was not very clear. For a moment, I became confused. I looked outside and wondered if I had reached my destination. My heart started beating faster. I checked my ticket again. Luckily, I still had 1 more station to go. I laughed at myself because I realized I had become nervous for no reason. The older passenger sitting beside me smiled and told me not to worry. He said that even experienced travelers sometimes feel confused during a journey. His words made me feel relaxed again. Finally, the last station arrived. The train slowly entered the platform. I picked up my backpack and stood near the door. When the train stopped, I stepped outside. I looked around and saw my cousin waiting for me. He waved his hand and smiled. I felt so happy at that moment. After greeting him, I looked back at the train. That train was not just a vehicle that took me from one place to another. It was a journey that gave me confidence. It taught me that trying something new can be scary at first, but it can also become a wonderful experience. On the way home, I kept thinking about my first train journey. I learned many new things that day. I learned how to read a ticket. I learned how to find a platform. I learned how to travel independently. But most importantly, I learned to trust myself. Sometimes we avoid new experiences because we are afraid of making mistakes. But every new experience helps us grow. My first train journey started with nervous feelings, but it ended with happiness and confidence. And that is why I will always remember it. Every journey begins with a small step. When we are brave enough to take that step, we discover new places, new people, and a stronger version of ourselves. Thank you for watching Learn English Through Stories. I hope you enjoyed this story and learned some new English words and sentences. Keep listening to English stories every day, and you will slowly improve your vocabulary, pronunciation, and confidence. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more simple English stories. See you in the next lesson.